We will remain standing for words of inspiration by Pastor Ramsey Fakuri from Grace Apostolic Church.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Greetings, esteemed council members. It's an honor to be before you this evening. My name is Ramsey Fakori. I am the director of the Clawson Community Coalition. Simple scripture this evening, James 1:5 simply says that the Lord gives wisdom to all who ask. So if you would bow your heads with me. Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for all that you've already done. We thank you for this city council. We thank you for each member, God, that's representing this city and all of the constituents. Lord, I pray that you would give them wisdom, that you would bless them in this proceeding, that there would be, Lord, peace and unity, Lord, in all things. And we thank you in advance. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Mayor Milan.
I am here.
Mayor Pro Tem Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Sampson.
Here.
Councilmember Shepard.
Here.
Councilmember Tinlin.
Here.
That is a full quorum, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I call for approval of our agenda.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to add under 7B a Spirit of Clawson Award to for Joan Horton.
Is there no second for the first motion, and that dies, and then we can do that, so.
Perhaps I should amend the motion. Is that
No second for that first motion.
okay?
And the first motion has now died.
Full death.
Okay.
Thank you. And I would like
You want to add a proclamation,
for Ms. Joan Horton, Spirit of Clawson Award.
7A or B?
7B.
7B.
I'll support that.
Is there a second?
I'll support it.
Roll call.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Mayor Milan.
Yes.
Councilmember Sampson.
Yes.
Councilmember Shepard.
Yes.
Councilmember Tinlin.
Yes.
We have a 7B.
Thank you. Next thing on our agenda will be consideration of approving the following. No, that's not right. Sorry, backtrack. We're going to go to public comment. If you would like to speak for items that are on our agenda this evening, you may make your way to the podium. We will allot you 3 minutes, and if you state your name and address, we would really appreciate it. Would anyone like to speak this evening?
If the dog barks, does it have to give the address first?
Pardon me?
If the dog barks, does it have to give the address first?
I think we will have an interpreter. Should the dog speak, we will allow interpretation and consider that valid. Right?
What a cutie.
Everyone looks comfy today. We have no takers for public comment. Therefore, we will not have public comment and move on to proclamations and presentations. First item for their proclamations and presentations would be a Main Street, Oakland County presentation to the Downtown Development Authority, 2022 Main Street accreditation. Annika Norris is here. She's a senior planner from Main Street, North Oakland County, and she is here to talk about the National Main Street Center accreditation for our DDA. Good evening.
Good evening. Sorry. Thank you for giving me the time to present this. We love to present the accreditation for the Clawson Main Street DDA within city council meetings because it shows the community all the great work that they're doing. Accreditation is more than, they have to do more work than some of the other communities that are within the Main Street program in Oakland County to do that. I guess first off, just in case you didn't know, Main Street Oakland County is a coordinating program. We are the only county-wide coordinating program for the Main Street organization, and we've been around since 2000. So the program is 23 years old. Clawson joined as a partner in 2007. They became a select level community in 2011. And they became accredited the following year in 2012. So there's been 16 years total in the program, and 11 of those years have been accredited. We have a few levels in the Main Street program, and the accreditation level, which we call select level, is the highest level in our county program. And it gets the most support and funding because they take a little extra time and do things like reporting statistics, keeping building inventories, having clear goals and objectives, and detailed work plans. So I am happy to present their accreditation this year. It goes back for last year, actually. We were always accrediting the year prior, which seems kind of strange, I guess, but that's the way we do it. And I was wondering if you would all mind coming down for a picture with the DDA or the Main Street program. We'd love to put it out on social media. We love how much that the councils give to the DDAs. They wouldn't be around if it weren't for the council approving the DDA to be in existence. So if you could all come down, I'd love to get a picture with you.
We should be here, right?
Yeah. Yes, I'll bring it up. Yeah.
Joe, are you coming down? Oh, yeah. You get next to me, so I don't hurt everybody. Step down line. Covering Joe's side. There we go.
Stay there, guys. All right, got a couple on each phone.
Thank you.
Did you want one with just you guys? Did you want one with just the DDA? The photo?
Why not?
You might
Here,
feel
sure.
like you would.
Go ahead.
Do you mind doing it?
Turn over. Let's grab a quick like this. Okay.
Switching out.
Thanks, Nate.
Now, would anyone from our DDA like to speak on this award? You guys work really hard for this. Joe, do you have anything you want to say?
Oh, you
Mary Liz, don't go anywhere.
Sorry.
Hang out. Will you do it again for the next one? Did you want to speak it up? It is. I'm so embarrassed. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, because you're 6 inches shorter. You don't want that.
Well, did you want to speak on this? Are you guys good with that? Okay. Then Mary Liz, welcome to our meeting. Thank you for bringing your friend with you today.
Well, he was very upset when he thought that perhaps I was going to bail on it.
I mean, right? So we have this thing we like to call the Clausen Community Spirit Award, and we like to recognize people whom we feel should demonstrate the heart of Clausen. So I'm going to read this to you. It says Clausen City Council Community Spirit Award, proudly presented to Mary Liz Curtin on May 2nd, 2023. We present this award in recognition of your community spirit. Your active participation and selfless commitment to the Clausen community are deeply appreciated. Although you're not a resident of Clausen, you represent two of our community's premier establishments, the fabulous Leon and Lulu and the charming Three Cats restaurant. Not only have you made Clausen your home away from home by selecting Clausen for your businesses, you demonstrate a commitment to the community by serving on our downtown development authority, currently as chair, and you generously support activities throughout our community, both inside and outside of the DDA. You provide employment opportunities for our youth, daughter, and for those a little bit older. You mentor local businesses and give generously to the many Clausen causes. We thank you for choosing Clausen. You represent us well. We are proud to have you among our cheerleaders, and we thank you for your many contributions and for being the very best part of Clausen.
Thank you very much.
Come on, everyone, you know how this works.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a little
Oh, wow.
something something that says, "I am the heart of Clawson"?
I know the drill.
This is lovely, thank you so much.
And I was at a meeting yesterday, and your name came up, and the room was full of people who are so grateful to you for your generosity and just how you came nicely and represent us so well. So don't think it goes unnoticed.
Well, thank you so much. I am honored. Not humbled, but honored.
You don't have to come. You don't deserve to be on.
We're happy to be in Clawson these 17 years, 18 years.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bertie Wooster.
Thank you so much. Here's a
Thank you.
Now you guys have to sit for the rest of the evening, unless something else is coming up that I don't know about, and I'll be happy for that too. We're going to move on to consideration of approving our consent agenda. Item A would be minutes of the regular city council meeting held on Tuesday, April 18th, 2023, as presented. Item B, minutes of the city council budget workshop meeting held on Tuesday, April 19th, 2023, as presented. And item C, a list of bills in the amount of $3,252,089.67.
Just for the record. I believe you said Tuesday, April 19th. It should be Wednesday, April 19th. We had a typo and we made a change, but I don't
Oh,
think we
yeah,
made
I
it
just
in
read, well, yes. So let's change that to Wednesday, April 19th, because we didn't do two things at the same time, right? No big deal. Reflected. Would someone like to make a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Milan? Mayor Milan?
Yes.
Councilmember Sampson?
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd?
Yes.
Councilmember Tinlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Next item on our agenda would be item 9A, which is new business. This is consideration of establishing a public hearing at the city council meeting to be held on May 16th, 2023, to solicit comments on the proposed fiscal year July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024 budget items and millage rates.
So moved.
Support.
Any need for conversation on that? Are we good? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Sampson?
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd?
Yes.
Councilmember Tinlin?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Anderson?
Yes.
Mayor Milan?
Yes. So we will be having a public hearing on Tuesday, May 16th at 7:30 regarding our upcoming budget. Next item on the agenda is city manager appointment of Kelly Baus as the chief of police for the city of Clawson.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. In April of 2022, Scott Cervello retired as the police chief of Clawson. At the time, it was determined to bring an outside interim chief to facilitate a seamless transition while reviewing internal candidates for the position. After a 4-member impartial interview panel consisting of 2 city managers and 2 police chiefs, along with interim Chief Smith's assessment and my own, the selection of Kelly Baus was made to fill the position of police chief. According to Clawson City Charter, Section 412, the city manager shall, with the advice and consent of council, appoint a chief of police. Based on the review and qualifications of Kelly Baus, it is with great pleasure to make the appointment of Sergeant Baus as our next police chief. Please join us on May 17th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. at Grace Apostolic Church to celebrate the swearing in of Kelly Baus as the chief of police for the city of Clawson.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I move to enter the consent to the appointment by the city manager of Kelly Baus to the office of chief of police for the city of Clawson.
Support.
Any comments? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Shepherd?
Yes.
Councilmember Tinlin?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Anderson?
Yes.
Mayor Milan?
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
guys. I said
Yeah.
it for him. I don't know what's
I
wrong.
caught that too, right as I was speaking. I'm like, wait a minute. Sir?
Yes.
Thank you. Mayor Milan?
Yes.
Councilmember
Yes.
Sampson?
Yes.
That's everyone. Twice.
Well, 3 times for some of us, but great. And then it's very exciting that we're going to, move forward with appointing Chief Baus as our new police chief. The next item would be consideration of the application for waiver protecting local government requirements and benefits act, PA 202 of 2017, for retirement health benefit systems.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The city received notification from the state via email to the city manager on March 3rd, 2023, that the city was under a preliminary review of underfunded status for OPEB. Annually, the city is required to file Form 5572 to comply with Public Act 202, which protects local governments' retirements and benefits. At the time of filing, we did not include the actuarial determined contribution, ADC, as that calculation was not provided in the original actuary report provided by Foster & Foster, who conducts our actuary. At the time of filing, Form 5572 did not trigger an underfunded status. This was not an issue at the time of filing, but was brought to our attention by the state treasury upon their preliminary review. Absent that information, the state placed us in a preliminary underfunded status, which is their action to prompt local government to address the issues. We are not underfunded. This action for the waiver simply allows for us to correct the administrative absence of information and indicates to the state that we have addressed the issue and shared this with the local governing body. The city manager did not see the email, though it was clearly received by me. Around April 1st, 2023, the administration realized we needed a response to the state. The administration communicated with State Treasury to develop a way forward to address our need to comply with the filing requirements. Though we are now outside the 45 days to respond with a resolution from the governing body, we have been assured by the state to submit our draft waiver and that they will await the supporting resolution from the governing body. Due to the internal communication mistake of the city manager, the previous lack of an updated OPEB actuarial determined contribution, and the schedule for city council meetings, the state recommended a draft waiver request be submitted prior to city council approval. This draft has now been submitted to the state along with copies of the updated actuarial report showing the ADC and the original actuarial report for OPEB. Failure to submit an approved waiver will result in a determination of underfunded status for the municipality and will require a corrective action plan to the Municipal Stability Board for approval. So this is basically simply putting myself on report for a lack of information and a lack of taking prompt action. We are going to be outside the 45 days by like 2 days.
Someone like to make a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move the application for waiver protecting local government retirement and benefits for retirement health benefit systems be approved as presented.
Second.
Any questions, concerns, comments?
Just so you're aware, I don't anticipate this happening again next year. And again, we are not underfunded.
Right, the important part, we're not underfunded. Okay.
Will we receive correspondence saying we aren't?
Once we submit to the state, I'm sure we'll have some kind of, yes, I can include that in the Friday report.
All right.
Is that all? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Tinlin.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Anderson.
Yes.
Mayor Milan.
Okay, yes.
Councilmember Sampson.
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the application for waiver protecting local government retirement and benefits for retirement health benefit systems has now been approved. We will move as said and include in the Friday report whatever documentation was just requested by our Councilmember Sampson. Then we move on to item 9D, which is consideration of approving the water and sewer rates of $139.78 per 1,000 cubic feet be effective July 1st, 2023.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The city administration has been foreshadowing looming infrastructure costs for years. Currently, we have the opportunity to partner with our neighbors Troy and Royal Oak on two separate water main projects that are necessary for Clawson. Last year, we did not have a water and sewer rate increase due to the pending water and sewer rate study by Raymond, which was presented to you at the February 21st, 2023 regular city council meeting. Since then, the city administration developed the financial outlook and health of the water and sewer fund, considering 5 water sewer rate options for council's review. These options range from taking no action to developing a rate that shows the magnitude of the infrastructure challenges we face. Most immediately, the city administration needs direction and support to pursue projects with our neighbors. The other 3 water sewer rate options take into consideration that necessary partnership we must make in conjunction with rate and fund balance combinations. The administration recommends that council strongly consider using the fund balance of 50% of the cost to partner with our neighbors, combined with a rate increase of 21% for water and 8% for sewer. Staff are on hand for discussion.
Someone like to make a motion?
I make a motion for discussion.
I'll support.
Who'd like to go first? I see some questions and some faces.
You got to make the motion on the resolution, not just a discussion.
Oh.
Yeah.
You
So,
meant for discussion
For
purposes.
discussion first.
yeah, you
Okay.
you always have
Okay.
discussion first, but you can't just motion for discussion.
Yeah.
So, I knew he was going to poke
I
me
knew
as
what
soon
you
as you
meant.
did that, so. The motion's on the floor for the, as written here, for to approve the water and sewer rate.
Right.
Okay? Thank you.
Councilmember Sampson, did you have any questions?
There's much wiser people on this council than me.
Pardon me?
I'll let one or the other go first.
Okay, we'll start at the end. Glenn, did you have any? Councilmember Shepherd? Councilmember Tinlin?
You know, I'm always going to have comments, right? So more just like, I'm just going to come out that I think, you know, we have an aging infrastructure and it's time to start doing things. So naturally, you see my support for this increase, because at the end of the day, we got to start doing things now. I think with that said, as I've talked to the community, they're supporting that, but also with transparency as we spend this money, as we move on projects that we're, give some type of quarterly update or whatever it may be, because I think the feedback I got is that they support spending extra money to fix this stuff. But at the same time, they want to see the money being collected, actions from those different projects. So I support this increase.
Madam Mayor, if I can interject?
Yes.
So yesterday, I sent you guys a text message in regards to a water main break that was occurring at Lincoln. And that water main is from 1923. As we speak, DPW is addressing a water main break on Hudson, and that water main is 1929 is when it was put in. So to give it greater context.
Anyone else? Councilmember, or Mayor Pro Tem Anderson?
Yeah, just a couple of questions. First, originally what you said, we have some very old water mains. I know AEW put out a study, probably half of them date back to the 20s or 30s. My understanding was that the process for bringing them up to speed was not to tear them up and replace them necessarily, but to put like polyurethane sleeves in there. That's become kind of a standard practice now. Do we anticipate a lot of that as we address these water mains?
I did ask Mr. Zablocki to attend, so I'm going to defer to his professional knowledge on that.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, that is always a possibility. It's on case-by-case basis. The two projects that are referred to for this, the one on Batter, we don't have a water main. We also do not have a right-of-way there. So while Troy is doing their work, they're allowing us to kind of piggyback, use their right-of-way to put our water main in. So that has to be a complete install. And as far as, excuse me, South Rochester, that one also would be dig up, put in new water main, because Royal Oak is looking to do a road project there. Which they are not looking at us to take any of the cost on the road project, but if they're gonna do that, that water main needs to be addressed before they do the road project.
Okay.
A better project. How long is that water main?
Which one?
Better.
787 linear feet.
Okay.
Approximately, right now, it's $401,000, $401,200.
How much is the other one? That's the one.
The match is 480 for.
Step forward so we can hear you,
Yeah, I was-
please.
The match for Rochester is
Thank you.
480,000.
Okay.
Go ahead, you can finish your questions.
It's a different topic, so if you, go ahead.
Is there any other place to get that money?
Is there any other place to get that money?
The surplus we have.
Well, our proposal is to use 50% of the fund balance for these projects and a water rate. So, and the options demonstrate how the fund would be impacted should we do it all from the water fund, from the fund balance, or if you put it all in a rate increase. And we thought it would be best to kind of split it down the middle, utilize some of our fund balance reserves, and then also we have to start doing the uncomfortable things. Collectively, we have $174 million in infrastructure needs.
How much of the 21% is the new construction?
Pardon me?
How much of the 21% is new construction? And how much is water rates?
Of the 21% is new construction, how much is water rate?
Yeah.
21% of it is for water and the other is for sewer rates.
But you said you added in the 400,000.
Microphone, please. I can't
Half
hear.
of it, you added in 400,000.
Councilman, can you use the microphone? You can't hear it at home. I'm getting texts.
The half of, you said you had 400,000.
Here we go.
And what was the other, 600 or 200,000? Comes out 600,000.
So roughly, so collectively, the two together is, 1 second.
If
It's
you
eight-
remove the construction out of the budget for water, how much more would the people have to pay? Would it be a 10% increase?
If you look at the rate options, we have, in column 1, doing nothing, the rate stays the same. In column 2, if you just did all of the construction on a water rate, it would be 90%. If we just used fund balance, we still would have an increase of 8% respectively for both water and sewer. Our recommendation is to use some of the fund balance and also do a rate increase. So a rate increase is 21% for water and 8% for sewer.
Yeah, Mr. Raker, yeah, I'm looking at some of the breakdown they gave. Right now, there's about 5,300 homes and 11,700 people in the city, so we're looking at roughly 2.2 people per household. And looking at, they gave average monthly cost for 1, 2, and 4 occupants. So looking at the 2 occupants, it appears that your quarterly water bill would go from $267 to $295, approximately $26 a quarter, or roughly $100 per year per household. Is all the same? Am I on the right track here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So $100 per household times 5,000 homes is basically $500,000 a year this rate increase will generate. 2 questions on that. When was the last increase?
I believe it was 2021. Is that correct, Kelly?
Fiscal year '22.
Fiscal year 22 then, pardon me.
Sure did increase just last year.
We didn't have any. We didn't have any rate increase because we were doing the Raymond study.
So so fiscal year '22, so you've only missed 1 year of rate increases. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. I mean, I expect that most people would understand that rates are going to go up some percentage each year, so we've skipped a year. Looks like by averaging out the water and the sewer, it's roughly a 10% increase, from what I can tell. And thus, about $100 a year per household. So this generating about $500,000 a year. I think maybe to bounce off Councilman Sampson's request, of the $500,000, how much of that is just going to go to increased operating costs, and how much of it will go to reconstruction and things like that?
50% of it. 50, just like we'll use 50% of the fund balance, and then the other 50% will, or are you asking about how much of the
Yeah, and split the 500,000 up first.
Well, Kelly, you might have to help me out here, because I would speculate that a portion of it would go to
Just operating.
the project and operating costs, and also to maintain a secure fund balance.
Sure.
So we are implementing or requesting that we complete the 2 projects, which total about $980,000. Half of that, $490, will go towards the infrastructure for Batter and South Rochester, and anything over and above that will cover any rate increases that have been passed on to us by SACWA, by WRC, as well as increased cost of just day-to-day business, supplies, personnel.
Okay. So in other words, we've got a $5,000 increase year by year going forward. So you're saying that of the 500, I'm working round numbers here, but you've got two projects, one's worth, what, 410,000 and 490, call it roughly 900,000
It's
between them.
881,000.
881, okay. So the first year you'll get 500,000 additional, the second year you get 500,000 additional, the third year. So let's talk about the first 2 years. You got about $1 million of increased revenue. So of the million, that will cover, how much of that million will be going towards those two projects?
The first year is not $1 million,
No, the first year's 500,000.
right?
And the second year
So
be 500.
anything additional, so if you look at the bottom of the color-coded page, you'll see where we will have extra for each year. So for 2024, we'll have 317,000 that we can use for cost as well as future infrastructure repairs. The year after that, it will go down to 180, and then in 2028, we'll only have $10,000 if we, I'm sorry, am I looking at the right column here? In 27, I'm sorry, will be negative 13,000 in the hole if we maintain the 21% rate.
Okay. So the rate increase we're proposing now.
So first year, $9,000, not 300,000, 9,000.
Wait, you're saying we're going to gain just $9,000 in the first year of this?
Yes, we will just make the repair, the infrastructure that we've requested, and
Okay, I
we'll
see.
have $9,000, a
Right,
little
so-
bit of,
So the first year, we'll call it a windfall, for lack of a better term, $500,000 windfall.
no,
please
first
don't.
year
Please
is
don't do that.
$9,000.
Well, no, here's the thing. If each customer is being charged an extra $100 a year in water bills, there's 5,000 residents, there should be about $500,000
I
each
see
year.
where you're going.
Right.
It's a little bit more difficult than that, the calculation, but yes,
Well, these are the
in
round
general,
numbers I think
yes.
most of our taxpayers can understand.
Yes.
Okay, because here's the thing, they're going to look at that they're going to look at that water bill, and 10% will jump out at them. You know, it's not the usual 3-5% most people are used to seeing. They're going to see 10%. So somebody's going to ask the question, what am I getting for this extra 10%? Because we're not going to the voters to vote for this, we're going to approve this here. Excuse me. So.
You're getting two repair projects.
Exactly,
a
and that's what we need
replacement.
to make sure
So
everyone
with-
understands.
So you'll be getting that, and then with the quarterly budget reports and financial reports, that will show any type of information as what's been repaired, where it's at in the repair process, or rehab process, or replacement process, so.
Okay. That's, I think it's very important. I think Councilman Tinlin made the point that if we're going to ask this increased water rate, we need to basically keep people informed that the following things are occurring as we go. So-
Yes, and to that point, and to Kelly's point about maintaining a healthy fund balance, having two large water main breaks back to back, maintaining a healthy fund balance is critical going forward.
Okay. So at this point, the two projects on the table, which are 880,000, they'll be 50% funded by this rate increase and about 50%
From the
from
fund
the
balance.
general,
Correct.
the fund balance, sure.
Water and
And then
sewer.
going forward into years 3 and 4, I assume there'll be other projects.
There'll be other projects, and I don't like saying this, but I have to foreshadow, there may be additional increases. I mean, there's,
We understand this, as unpleasant as it is to look at, it is just the beginning of the journey, yes. I think
yes,
we all
sir.
have to understand that.
Well put, please. Thank you.
So if we maintain the rate, the same rate that we're requesting today, if we maintain that same rate next year, we will only have an additional $100,000 to do any repairs. Unless costs go up, then we won't, that will keep declining year after year. Just,
How many water main breaks does that cover? $100,000?
I couldn't give you an actual answer. They're all different. I mean, one water main break can run us anywhere from $4,000 to $10,000.
Okay. And how many we had in the last week?
I was going to ask the same
Two.
question.
So at this rate, probably don't know what the math is for that for the rest of the year, but that's not something we need to budget for, right? You can't budget for water main breaks, right? So $100,000 is not going to be something that's going to carry us to a successful project to make sure that we've got a useful and clean water system for everybody.
How much is the number of projects you got out there now? How much money do you need to do them all?
Well, that interesting number that Kelly provided would be, I'll have it for you here in 1 second. Do them all.
83.7.
He proposed the rate increase of, to actually do everything that is in the CIP, taking into account the inflationary factor, it would be, for water, you'd have a 6,350% increase.
Oh, I asked for a number like, how many million for a bond, to go out for a bond?
I think it's $83 million that are.
83.7.
For all the water. But we can't, you got to remember where we're at as far as our debt ceiling is concerned for using common terms. So we can only borrow up to, is it 65?
65 right now.
65,000, we're 32 million. So we can only borrow up to $33 million if we went and maxed ourselves out. We maxed out our credit card, and that's barely, that's not even a quarter of it.
And what would that do to our credit rating, our bond rating?
I don't even think we'd get approved for something like that. So it would, I don't think we have the ability to max ourselves out like that. And at the end of the day, we're all paying for it anyways, in one way, shape, or form. It's just in that case, we're paying for a lot of money, the cost of borrowing money up front, which we probably will have to do a combination of borrowing and putting this mill forward just so that we can get some additional momentum going. Tomorrow, that's going to be one of the topics of discussion with AEW.
Okay.
I don't believe that we should be asking the citizens to pay 20% more, 21% more. I think we should try to get some out of a bond. I know they're going to eventually pay for it, but at least it'd be a bond specific for water, and we know where the
May I
money's
make a
going.
comment?
Of course.
Typically, when we take debt service out for water and sewer, that's just billed right back onto the water bill. So it will most likely, if we took a bond out, it would be higher than 21%.
My concern is that water bills are such a point of contention for people because they see them often, and all they ever hear about is how high Clausen's are, and then there's always the conversation about how low our surrounding communities are, and then once the studies are done, I don't think we actually pay considerably more than our other communities, but we have needs, we have to address our needs, and we have to make uncomfortable decisions to do it. My concern is that whatever we say we're doing for the residents, if we are bringing in more money, that we're actually spending it on something that the residents want, right? Like, we have to be very thoughtful in this, and it sounds like you have a good plan for that, but I would want to ensure that's exactly what's happening, because as much as we need a healthy fund budget, I don't think people are really thrilled when they realize that they're paying $100 or $200 or $50 more a year, and it's going into someone else's savings account because they'd rather have that money go into their savings account, which is what it equates into, our fund balance.
Because that's only necessary because of the condition of our overall system. We could have a major back-to-back, we've got back-to-back water main breaks today.
Right.
And we have a very dated infrastructure. Our roads are horrible. I think if you look at the PACER study that I provided you in comparison with the 2022 PACER rating, it fell a whole point in 5 years. So we can't do nothing and expect it to get better. We
No,
can
and-
do something, and it's going to take a while to make it better, but in order to win the hearts and minds of the residents to support a future millage, we have to start showing in earnest some progress.
Well, that's kind of my point, right? We have to do our due diligence to ensure whatever we say we're doing, we're actually doing, and that it's going to take, getting some things underway and seeing some progress to make people feel more comfortable. And water bills are just that thing. They're just prickly with people because they come so often. And I have no problem approving something that gets needed projects taken care of. I just want to ensure that whatever the message is gets fulfilled. That's all. And I'm not saying you wouldn't. I just think it's critical, and I think communication is key in this, in all the things that we're doing. So,
I hear you loud and clear.
When you look at the Pacer report, there's a couple of water mains that got, what is it, Lincoln, around that area, where the water mains are, isn't there like 11 patches already?
I don't really understand the question. Are you talking about new patches, old patches?
Well, one of them pipes has been rebuilt by little pieces all the way down the street because there's so many water main breaks.
Yeah,
So is this money, our projects are being driven by other cities. We have to do it because Troy's doing it now. We have to do it because Royal Oak's doing it. But we're not doing the one that could benefit us mostly.
Well, I can say this. The Rochester water main needs to be replaced.
Yeah.
Absolutely has to be replaced. The Batter, we don't have one. We're not saying we need to do this because other cities are saying you have to do this. We're saying we do it now, it's going to be much cheaper. It makes more sense as far as Rochester goes. As far as Batter goes, it's going to be extremely, a lot cheaper, and it's going to be very difficult to put that water main in after they redo their road. Because like I said, we do not have right-of-way. We have to use Troy's.
And as I mentioned before, our ISO rating had fallen, and so we need to show some progress in order to bolster it back up to where it needs to be. And so this is a step in that right direction. And also, increase in pressure for fire suppression delivery, and also over on Batter and Key West, to close the loop there. Is that correct?
So what would be the cost to get up to the ISO standards?
We're working through that right now. I mean, that's a plan that is under development.
So we don't know.
What needs to happen is longer-term solutions to fix our system.
I'd rather see us do something, fund it some other way than on the backs of the citizens. That they have to buy the water. The citizens are going to pay for it, but this, like you said, they see the water bill every month.
Yeah, I think part of the issue is this. Water bills are very visible to people. They come every quarter. Water mains are essentially invisible.
Yes, they are.
We talk about roads, it works the other way. Let's be honest. To fund the road improvement that we're talking about in the CIP plan, it's probably going to involve a millage on the part of the citizen, whether it's a millage to pay off a bond or just a direct millage, pay as you go. Either which way. That can probably be sold easier because the roads are visible. So you say, we need a millage to pay for roads. People are probably going to get out there and say, yes, it needs to be done. This is a little different. However, the magnitude of the dollars, $500 a year additional, $500,000 a year of added revenue is about 1 mil. So it is a fairly modest amount. And Lou, just to be clear, I think one rate's going up 20, one's going up 7. It averages out to 10%.
Right, it's 21 and 8% respectively.
Yeah, so you average, or you weighted average those out, it's going to be a 10% increase overall. So yeah, as painful as this is, I think they probably have to do it. I'd like something that's easier to sell, but I don't think we have a lot of options.
This might help you sell it a little bit better. So the difference, Kelly had placed this at the bottom, this is what I'm looking at here. So average cost per day for one occupant is 14 cents, and then it just goes up there respectively. So
Yeah.
What's 14 cents?
average cost per person a day.
Yeah, they did a breakdown, so a household of 1 is 14 cents, a household of 2 is 28 cents per day increase, and a household of 4 residents is an average of 57 cents a day.
Right.
So actually, I've been using those numbers when talking to the residents in the last week or so.
Yeah, for a family of 2, it averages out to about $100 a year. And we have about 2.2 residents per house in this city. So,
plan, people? We have a motion. Any more conversation?
Glenn, you've been kind of quiet over there.
It's just, you mentioned the roads, right? You see it, right? You feel it. And my concern is that we'll be in a situation with a water main break and there's a house on fire. And boy, how old was that pipe? 1922. All right, it's unsavory. It is, there's no question about it. But at the same time, it's the responsible thing to do. In no way should we ever allow something as important as water infrastructure to go 100 years without doing something about it in the meantime. So there's no choice. I think we have to move forward with this. I agree, I wish there was another way of doing it. As Kelly said, as far as, putting it on a bond, right? You're gonna have to pay the debt for the bond for the same amount that we would get. And here's an opportunity to piggyback on other communities that are footing part of the bill. It's pretty simple.
Troy's not paying any of it, are they?
Pardon me?
Troy's not paying any part of our project.
No, but it's in their right of way. So for us to do this, the
Well,
time is now.
It does save money as far as they're already excavating. The road will be open.
Yeah, I guess I should correct that.
So,
That this is an
it
opportunity.
does save money.
Yeah, it's a piggyback, basically.
Okay, if no one has any other comments, let's do a roll call, please.
Okay, so it's the resolution regarding the water and sewer rate of $139.78 per 1,000 cubic feet to be approved and presented and take effect July 1st, 2023.
That is it.
Want to read it back? Okay. All right. Councilmember Anderson, Mayor Pro Tem Anderson,
Yes.
Mayor Milan,
Yes.
Councilmember Sampson,
No.
Councilmember Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilmember Tinlin.
Yes.
With a lot of deliberation, approved increasing our water rates at the rate of $139.78 per 1,000 cubic feet to be effective July 1st, 2023, to address much-needed infrastructure concerns only. Next item on the agenda is consideration of approving the purchase of 2 Gravely Pro-Turn 560 mowers from Heli Bike and Mower Center, and I probably didn't say that correctly, but this sounds interesting. We get to get new mowers, which means it's spring or summer, so that's a plus. Who would like to address this situation for us?
Do you want to make a motion first?
Yeah, sorry.
Madam Mayor, I move the purchase of 2 Gravely Pro-Turn 560 mowers from Hellbuck's Bike and Mower Center, 52881 Van Dyke, Shelby Township, in the amount not to exceed $27,389.64, be approved as presented.
Support.
Thank you. Now, any questions? Do we need a presentation? What would you like to do next?
Ma'am, actually, Trevor and the DPW did their due diligence and actually field testing this equipment, and getting 2 of the same will help as far as maintenance is concerned. The ease of maintenance and also the durability and the suspension as far as having a clean and level cut were some of the variables. Everyone that test drove them, this was their endorsement, and it is budgeted for.
Great. Anything else? Roll call, please.
Mayor Milan,
Yes.
Councilmember Sampson,
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilmember Tinlin,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Anderson.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Congratulations on 2 new mowers. How exciting, right? New equipment. It's always good.
Got the Weingart theme song in my head.
Next item on our agenda would be old unfinished business. We have a consideration to approve the city council objectives in support of the previously approved goals for fiscal year 2023 and 2024. Someone like to make a motion?
I'll move.
Support.
Questions, concerns, anything?
We will update the budget book with these should they be approved.
So just questions, we hadn't placed edits on all those objectives, there's no comments from the last meeting, I knew it was long. So it's good. I guess I took good notes then, so,
Everything I put in, you put down?
yep. 42-page transcripts from the YouTube channel, so we cross-referenced it a couple times. So I think it's a good start.
But thanks for doing that hard work.
It's actually kind of fun, so I don't want to admit that.
You know, AI does that, but that's okay.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Sampson.
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
Councilmember Tinlin.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Anderson.
Yes.
Mayor Milan.
Yes. We have approved our council objectives and goals for fiscal year 23 and 24. Next item on our agenda would be public comments for items not on the agenda. If you're in the room and you'd like to speak to any item that is not on the agenda, you can make your way to the podium. We'll allot you 3 minutes. Please state your name and your address.
Again, just wanted to make one quick comment. It is National Day of Prayer this Thursday. I just wanted to set a brief reminder that we will be across the street at the flagpole doing our prayers. I believe it starts at 7 p.m. I will definitely update that with the time as soon as I get it, but just wanted to go ahead and put that out there. We'd love for all to join if possible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. My name is Nate Hara. I'm on Park Drive, but I also am on the Planning Commission, which is why I'm here today. I just wanted to advise you, as a courtesy in the spirit of transparency, two issues that are kind of coming up on the Planning Commission side. Recently, we had a Planning Commission site plan review for an apartment complex that was purportedly to go on West 14 Mile. It would combine 3 lots of single-family homes that have been purchased by the developer in pursuit of demolishing them and combining them into one larger apartment complex. The reason I'm bringing it up is because it became clear when we went to that site plan review that none of the adjacent members or houses or homeowners that were living next to those properties had been informed of that in any official capacity. I don't think they're necessarily required to, so, but it seemed wrong at the time, and we had to make a special amendment to our agenda to hear those public comments. And in fact, even people who are living in those buildings were not aware of this event, and I think it's drawn a lot of attention to us and perhaps even to you and other forums. So we're considering in future Planning Commission meetings, which of course you're welcome to attend, the possibility of changing amendments to drive some forced notifications to members living next to properties that are undergoing such large changes. So that was one thing. I just, soliciting your feedback any way possible. The idea is to just be better neighbors and to make sure everybody has an opportunity to speak their voice in those matters. I think this is common in other communities. It just seemed to be maybe a gap in our ordinances. The other thing we've been talking about at nearly every meeting for as long as I've been on Planning Commission is the issue of temporary occupancy permits, and it's come up, enough times that we're sort of unsure how to proceed further with it. So we consulted with the city attorney, who rightfully explained to us that oversight of TCOs, issuance of TCOs, is not up to the Planning Commission. The building department owns that, and that's probably right. But what is the situation now is we are seeing TCOs going out again properly, but we don't ever hear about them, and so deviations to site plans that came before the Planning Commission previously, we never see them again. They just get a TCO and continue on. We have no gripe with the businesses at all whatsoever. We've been quite clear about that. But this seems to be sort of an unmanaged process with no check and balance to it. So we're exploring that conversation in future meetings. Again, invite you to have some comment on that to make sure we're on the right path. So we want to do things as properly as possible. And there are times on Planning Commission we sort of feel like, why bother even having a site plan review if you can skip the process and administration can issue TCOs anyway? This is not the spirit of the ordinance, this is not the intention of it, but sometimes can happen, and it's sort of a nebulous zone for us, so we're not sure where to have concern or to not have concern or to express concern or not. And even it's putting some people in the building department, I think, in a tough spot. So we're looking to tighten up that looseness in the language, so to speak. So that's it. I just wanted to say thank you for your service and for all you're doing for Clawson in these terrible times. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Shepherd, how many meetings did we sit through conversation about
But
TCOs?
yeah, I was, I remember a chair before that, that was a big issue that we maintained that, and then we found out through the legal process that that's probably not the wisest thing, because they could put all of us in jeopardy as members of the Planning Commission. And understanding that, that was the reason why we unanimously moved forward to take that out of our jurisdiction. I understand, the want for visibility and understanding what the process is. I can appreciate that, if you had a site plan and nothing happens with it in 3 years, then what happens after that, right? So, and I think just as long as you're having the conversation, that dialogue is happening, I think that's probably the best course of action for that, unless there's something major that brings it up for a site plan, but, yeah.
All right.
Good times.
All right. Well, I have no experience on planning commission, but I will say the word temporary does imply an expiration date. Although I've been in factories that had temporary wiring that had been there for, 10 years, that's generally not considered sound practice. So in this respect, I think Commissioner Hare brings up a good point. They can approve site plans, but if the person on the site can then just have a continuous stream of temporary occupancy, it kind of renders moot the whole plan approval process. Now, so I guess, Rennis, I have a question for you. How is it the Planning Commission is exposed in a situation to where they get involved?
Well, first of all, it's state law. It's not that it was improperly, that authority to grant the TCOs in the first place was improperly given to the Planning Commission whenever it was done. And they had exercised it with due care and caution, and obviously things that worked fine. But when Giffords-Webster, I believe, first came on, they recognized that right away, and they started a process, starting with the Planning Commission, then eventually through council, to make that change and make that reverter. The way it makes, to address your question, the way that it places everyone in legal jeopardy would be in a situation where you, as untrained, not the certified building officials, give a temporary certificate of authority. You haven't seen the property, you don't know where it is, you're just going on word of mouth, basically. And God forbid something were to happen at the particular property, that would then, because you're the one, you're the party as the Planning Commission issuing that particular grant of authority, you'd be one responsible for it in the long run. So, but ultimately, even though that's a part of the conversation, state law binds us.
Fair enough. So state law does not allow a planning commission to have the authority to issue a temporary occupancy. I understand that because they're not professionals. They're not certified to do that. But nonetheless, a planning commission is authorized to authorize, excuse me, they are authorized to grant a site plan.
Yes.
Okay. So since temporary should have some kind of time limit, do our current temporary occupants, what is it today?
Nick, if you're, I know it's.
So they're given on a per case basis. So we've given them out with 45 days, 60 days, 90 days, and for some larger projects, 6 months. And at this point, once that transition changed from the Planning Commission back to the Building Department, we had to change a couple policies over the last 6 months to a year. And so now when you get a TCO, you have to submit a bond to the city, stating, we're going to give you this money for now, and once their TCO becomes a certificate of occupancy, they're issued that bond back.
Okay, so presumably there's a process to get them out of the temporary occupancy situation, but how long can it stretch out? I've seen so-called temporary situations stretch out years in life.
So the one thing I do want to say first is, ideally, we don't want to be issuing TCOs in the first place, because we want businesses to get their full CVO and have everything checked off for starters. But there are circumstances where there's a business we'll use Biscuits and Gravy, for example. In their site plan, they call for certain landscaping to be done. We can't expect them to have a certain landscaping to be done with the spring and the rainfall. And so we're giving them time to address those concerns. And so with these new practices in place, we're doing a much better job following up with businesses and making sure they're addressing the confines of their TCO.
Okay. So with that in mind, Rennis, is it legally acceptable to say temporary occupant certificates can only last 1 calendar year?
I
And
think
once
we
they
have already
expire, they go back to the planning commission. They have to basically resubmit their site plan. Is that a reasonable and legal position to take?
A site plan would have been approved, so to say that because the TCO has not materialized in a certain period of time, that the entire site plan would go back for approval, I think that would probably be a stretch. I'm happy to look into it and come back to you with respect to that, but I think that may be, as an act, may be draconian and not necessarily contemplated in law.
But they, if I may, that you can have timetables on site plans.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, that's where you have.
So realistically, yeah, it's there.
Yeah, and if you don't complete your, whatever you've set on your site plan within a certain period of time, that's when they would bring back. So, and
Okay.
usually at
Not
that
necessarily
point.
through the TCO, that's actually a fair point.
So that'd be
The site plan itself would have timelines.
If the applicant wanted to make a change to their site plan, they'd have to go back in front of the planning commission. They wouldn't just get a TCO.
Right.
Okay, understood. The site plan is the overall design, and it takes time to bring that design to completion. But again, I mean, essentially, the city is the enforcement arm for, we'll call the planning commission a legislature. They passed the site plan, which is the law. The city is supposed to enforce this site plan. How do we ensure a time limit to where the enforcers of the law, the city, take care of this in a timely manner? That's my concern. I've heard things about these temporary occupancies just stretching out over time and over time. And
Yeah, You may have heard, Councilman Mayor Pro Tem, you may have heard about, a problem or two throughout time that has been reviewed by the city. But as far as, obviously, certainly ever since Nick has ascended to that role, any such issues, as far as I'm concerned, have evaporated. And I believe, and I'm speaking out of memory now, but I believe our ordinance already carries a timeline for TCOs.
so there's a set timeline in the
I'm pretty sure.
ordinance, or?
Well, because they cannot, it does it in backwards fashion, if I remember correctly. It does it by saying, that may not renew after, like after the first grant, or, there's some timeline.
They used to provide us with an Excel sheet that told what projects were ongoing and what the status of those projects are. Do they still provide those to members of the planning commission?
Yes, but I think there's a desire for more detail, and I'm working on providing that to the planning commission.
I just thought it was useful because when you serve on planning, and several of us in this room have done it, when you jump on, there are a lot of the things that you're talking about are things that have been in the works for extended period of time, and you may not have all of that knowledge, right? So it's nice to have a little history to know how long it's been on the books and like what processes have taken place and where you actually are in the process and the hiccups and such, just because it gives you a better viewpoint on how to discuss it. And we're not really supposed to be discussing this right now because it wasn't on the agenda, so I brought this all to life, but it tells us that there is probably a need to have a workshop, planning, zoning, city council, any other interested parties, that talk about the policies and procedures and how all of these boards and commissions work and how these things work together, right? So maybe once we're finished with budgets, we could address something like that, just for informational purposes, because maybe people who've served in the past or new people can learn things, share things, and maybe fine tune the things that we do, even though it's not even if it's kind of outside of our scope, just a conversation sometimes makes things work better. So
We
that's
can
something
add
we
that
could do.
to the list of things.
List, I know, thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to shut the conversation down, but does anyone have anything else for that? Nope, then does anyone else want to speak for public comment? Then we will move on to item 12, which is the city clerk's reports.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Our ad hoc committee has been in constant conversation and updating policies, and we've come to a really good spot. In fact, I fired off the first couple emails today to the commissions that I am overseeing with some language asking if they wanted to be reappointed, saying that this is coming up, in a couple months, are you still interested? And they were responding, so it worked. All the department heads understand now that they take ownership of their commission, and I'm going to give them that kind of language to send to the people on the commission that they are the liaison on, and they're going to start getting that information, gathering that, and pursuing it. Before, it was kind of decentralized, it was kind of all over the place. And now the department heads will take ownership of their commission that they sit on and that they manage.
So regarding applications that come in to you guys, there's been concerns that people have submitted applications and they've not actually made it to, say, the person who gets to determine whether someone
Right,
is nominated to a board or commission. And I just want to ensure that that's fixed so that there's not a feeling that I was excluded and not
I
not given
understand.
consideration, because that puts a lot of people in a really bad spot.
I completely understand, and I have gone through old emails going back about 6 months to find things that might have been like when we didn't have any positions that I'd printed out and stick it in a folder, and the folders disappeared because nothing came up for any of that commission for a while. So I've been digging back to find some of those things, and I do have a nice little collection. And once we get a nice inventory of where we're at, which should happen by the middle of next week, I'm going to start sending you some stuff, and I'm also going to start advertising if we have multiple spaces that are open, which we're going to have. We're going to have some spots that are going to be open. The people are not going to want reappointment, and I don't have people lined up in a folder because it just wasn't, it's going to be a surprise.
Okay, so rather than you, anybody accumulating files and then holding on to them for undetermined amounts of time, could you please forward those?
Yeah, I mean, I'll
when they
forward to them
arrive?
immediately. And then
Thank you.
then there's 2 people then that can have them in their emails and be aware of it, so.
Well, at least so we can acknowledge receipt
Right.
and say this is where we are in the process, just so
Right.
that it's fair and there's,
So
you know.
the big change here is the staff liaison taking more ownership of that board that they sit on all the time and making me aware of who's gone and who's leaving, who's not leaving, and them having more of awareness of their expiration dates and things.
Reformalize this in a policy?
It's already a policy, but the part of the staff taking charge of it was never made clear. It was never really made clear who took charge of it. It just was a.
Can we do it?
So, so I did send out like notices of reappointment and so things like that to see who's going to be interested. And I already have people that don't want to be on certain commissions, and just the 2 that I work on, so.
I'd like to see a formal policy
There is one, sir. Well, I can send it over to you.
to revise it. So you add all these next steps that you put in, or are they all there?
Oh, there's not really all these next steps. It's just who is responsible for monitoring their commission. I mean, we can put that in a line in the policy. We did talk about that in one of our discussions.
So one of the biggest concerns was nominations, right? And I think
Still goes through you.
So all boards and commissions, nominations and reappointments are vetted by the mayor and then approved by council, with the exception of the ethics board. Is that not, that's correct?
I think the only one I think that doesn't say specifically the mayor appoints. I think it's just appointed by council.
Yeah, I remember when that
Yeah.
happened. I remember there was a
Right.
specific reason for that. So, but anything else, it is, because the mayor has the authority, responsibility to put forth an application to the council for their approval.
Right.
That was, because that was part of the concern.
Yeah,
There
and that
was
is not gonna
initial
change.
impetus of
The
it.
reason I'm asking for a policy is for the next council to have something to read and say, this is how I have to follow it. We all understand what we want changed and what we want fixed. A couple councils from now won't. So we need a policy, could be a revised policy. So just add whatever we're doing extra or whatever we're emphasizing, and let's do a policy again. 'Cause
That's fine. We'll talk about where that line should go, because we actually discussed this in an email, but just like, well, we'll just go what we got. But we'll put that in. That's fine.
Are we in open discussion again, or?
I'm fine with it. Are you guys fine with this being an open discussion?
Sure.
Yeah, we have recommendations with the team. We'd even done process flows showing where the record should be maintained by a position. They have a matrix, so then that's some of the dialogue, how much we want to formalize the administration's procedures or revising the ordinance too, so.
But ultimately, it's based on the charter states'
Yeah,
responsibility.
there's no doubt about that part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there was question before, so I mean,
Yeah,
and then
it's just-
ensuring internally, it's just things
Our-
flow, and he's correct in,
our list states a bunch of ordinances I asked for 6-7 weeks ago and still haven't gotten them. The ordinance, we want to read them all to say, mayor does this, or this one anybody can appoint to. I want to actually see the ordinances, not just,
They're all there.
I couldn't find them, I couldn't get them to pull up. That's why I sent an email 6 weeks ago asking, hey, just pull this up.
Yeah, I think those are the ones we referenced on the matrix. Only one I don't have is the Downtown Development Authority, if they have an
Yeah,
ordinance.
that's in their own bylaws and their own
That's the only
rules,
one I
yeah.
couldn't find.
Okay, that we can pull,
Yeah.
that I can, and that's, yeah. That's an easy email.
I'll resend the email because you guys lost it.
I just don't know which ones you couldn't find, but I'll go through and, I mean, they're all there, so I will look for them.
Thank
We'll
you.
find them. We'll PDF them out and send them over. I'll do that, make a note of that right now. And then I just wanted to lastly wish all of my colleagues that have an election tonight luck. There are May elections that were today, and this is going to go a long way towards helping those of us that didn't have an election get to know these new election laws. So not a lot of them were taken in effect yet, but some of them did little bit by little bit. So good luck, everyone who's not watching because you're running an election right now and closing your polls 40 minutes ago.
Wait, you think they're not watching? You think they would rather close polls? Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions for him? Okay, then we'll move on to the city attorney's reports.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Anderson, I did find this section. It's Chapter 34, Article 10, Section 710 deals with certificates of occupancy. H deals with TCOs, and it states the TCO shall be issued for up to 8 months at the discretion of the building official and will not be extended beyond the term of its issuance.
Okay.
Now, there are a couple of, I'm sorry.
So there is a standing 8-month limit then?
Yes.
On these?
Yes.
And if that 8-month limit is reached and they're still not up to code, shall we say, well, what happens next?
That's a discussion, that's a larger discussion that perhaps we shouldn't have right now. But I can tell you, just, put my attorney hat for a moment, in the moment that it says, at the discretion of the building official and will not be extended, the will portion, it's not shall and it's not may, it's somewhere in between, and that's technically a term of art. Now, whether Joe and the planning commission realized at the time, I'm not sure, but will means that it nonetheless falls at the discretion of the building official. So the short, perhaps an elegant answer to your question is that may not extend it, but it will not extend it, but it's not an imperative per se.
So it's kind of a soft limit, shall we say?
It's not quite soft, because soft would be may, right?
Okay.
This is the between, this is the preponderance.
Soft and hard.
Yeah,
The
this
shall
the
is hard, the may is
preponderance of the
soft.
evidence, about 51% is what you ought to think about.
Okay. I guess we can pursue it another day.
Yes, sir.
I think we discussed it now, but thank you.
I had nothing additional.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll move to our city manager's report. Mr. Raker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a reminder that tomorrow is Budget Workshop number 2 here in the council chambers at 7 p.m. We'll be posting these upcoming dates on our website and social media for the following department open houses. Sakura Open House for Recycling was hosted on April 25th and was recorded. It can be viewed on the Parks and Rec Senior Center Facebook page. We are in the process of making it accessible through the city website also. The Police Open House will be Saturday, May 20th from 10 a.m. to noon here at City Hall. DPW Open House will be Saturday, June 10th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at DPW. We also anticipate that another presentation on recycling from Sakura will occur during DPW's open house. Parks and Recreation and Senior Center Open House will be Sunday, July 23rd from 1 to 3 p.m. at the Hunter Community Center. Library Open House will be Monday, August 7th from 6 to 7 p.m. at the Blair Memorial Library. And the Fire Department Open House will be on Sunday, October 15th from noon to 3 p.m. at the fire station. Again, I will share these dates with you in my Friday feedback, and as previously mentioned, they will be on the city website. In passing, I had conversation with Councilman Shepherd about No Mow May. I also received an email inquiry about it today. Since we do have a sustainability committee, I will ensure the consideration of No Mow May is vetted through the sustainability committee for potential consideration in the future. So that actually does comport with our goals. Perfect. And depending on your questions, those are my comments.
So no mow May for 2023 Or is it the discretion of you and/or your neighbor to not
No, ma'am,
complain?
we'll talk about it through this is something that's a good idea that might not be the best application here in Clawson. And so it's got the best of intentions. It does have people's interest as far as sustainability is concerned. And so, Mr. Shepherd wasn't endorsing it, or I'm not speaking for him, but we had a good conversation about it. And then coincidentally, some residents brought it up. So it's something that I think that is a good topic of discussion that we should vet through the Sustainability Committee.
I never, if I may, Madam Mayor, and not to step on your time, but I never want to have a negative situation with somebody who's proactively trying to do something that they feel is contributing to their community and to the environment. I think, for my opinion, and NOMO may, and some of the evidence bears out that it's counterproductive. So that's the reason why I have some concerns over it, but still want to promote something that people can do. I've said, and I'll just share my opinion, NOMO April is better than NOMO May.
And through the Sustainability Committee, we can have that dialogue and hopefully have a recommendation for the community next year.
You could really make it March and April, and then make the people who are really looking
Well,
forward to that
unfortunately,
really
in
happy.
Michigan, it's also NOMO August, too, so.
Okay, and that's all you have?
Yes, ma'am.
Great, thank you. Then city council comments, Councilmember Sampson?
We all got an email today from Susan Phillips.
Oh, geez.
That house at 106 Red Roof, that was brought to the attention of the administration back in December 2019. That really started some of this ordinance stuff. Can we look into that and see where it stands now? They probably got
Can't hear.
off the plate.
Councilman Sampson was referring to a property in Clawson that has some questions regarding as a rental property. And to respond to those questions, we had a code enforcement officer stop by there today and perform an exterior inspection. And there was nothing that came back as an issue at this time. And I believe the concern that you're referring to dealt with the tenants leaving frequently from that apartment, and that it had to deal with the interior of the property.
The basement isn't rented with the house.
So our current standards only review the exterior of homes. So that's what we do at this time.
So we're just going to put it back on the plate. Okay, and the other one, we got for Mr. Hodges. You probably got to see him. I don't know if you got a chance to read it.
I believe we cured one of his issues, and we're looking through, there's a possibility, I have to do a little bit of investigation on it, so, and that's ongoing.
What's the timeline? Weeks?
There's a possibility he may have been paid, so I'm doing a little bit of investigative work for somebody who may not know exactly what they're talking about,
Okay.
so.
That's all?
Yep.
Mayor Pro Tem? Councilmember Tillman?
Well, I was going to talk about NOMO May, but, and that's already been covered, so thank you for that. I just want to reinforce on that 14-mile road development that the Planning Commission is working with, and I've already talked to Nick before the meeting. Just as, the residents are going to be impacted a little bit by the development, and just maybe looking at lessons learned about some type of notification, even though I know that property was zoned for that use. Again, a few residents had reached out to me. But that's it.
Thank you. Councilmember Shepherd?
Yeah, there was a street project just recently on Red Roof, close to 14 Mile. Was that part of what, I didn't think that was part of the project that we were looking at doing in repairing Red Roof.
I'd have to get the exact address and look at it in comparison with the project.
Okay, it's, one of the things is that it was a lot of gravel that was sitting in the middle of the road. That was,
The portion of Red Roof you're talking about is the first block?
yes, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, that was part of our road patching
Okay,
program,
Okay.
not part of the major reconstruction. That's the next block.
okay, I was going to say, and I was like, okay, we're starting it already, but,
No.
okay.
No.
All right.
You can always hope.
Yeah, because it's only from Nakota to Samoset, that's part, yeah.
Now I understand your
Okay.
question. Thank you, sir.
Okay. No, that's it. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So on the road issue, Hendrickson, I spoke with the gentleman last night who lives on Hendrickson and was elated that the yellow cones were going to be removed, hopefully today, from a project that has been ongoing for quite a while outside of his house. He also wanted me to convey that the people that worked on that crew were exceptional. So, just so you know, always nice to hear that people like construction workers, right, when they're disrupting their lives. And then, a few activities coming up. There is a charity hot rod cruise dinner fundraiser Friday, May 26th from 4:30 to 7 at the Clausen KFC Hall. There will be a posting of the colors, TAPS 21 gun salute starting at 6 p.m. This is sponsored by Ralph Haney and his organization. So if you're available on the 26th, go out and support him. There will be the open air sidewalk fair on May 20th in our downtown area, along with that police DPW thing on May 20th. So it'll give people a lot of time to go out on the 20th, right? Everything's that weekend. That's like the busiest weekend, because on the 21st is the Blair Bazaar from 11 a.m. It's the second annual. They're really excited. They have sold out all of their spots, and they have a waiting list, so they're very happy for that. And then on that Sunday, the 21st, go to the bazaar, go to the park, to the summer park, whatever the formal name is that I never remember. And then the outdoor market on the 22nd. Did I say that? Yeah, whatever. Repeat. But there's a lot of things to do here in Clausen. Check out the website. It's all posted, right? And that's all I have for tonight. Thank you, everyone, for giving us a meeting that was productive, making decisions that aren't fun, but I think it's all of our goal to get things rolling here in Clausen and fix some of the things that need to be fixed, and we just need your patience and your understanding that it's not going to be easy, or maybe not a little bit painful. So, thank you. And with that, anyone want to close this meeting?
Support.
Roll call, please.
Shepherd?
Yes.
Tinlin?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Milan?
Yes.
Sampson?
Yes.
Richard?
Meeting adjourned.